So welcome. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming in as we continue our series on abundance and prosperity. Okay, the first thing I want to do this morning is apologize, because this talk is a bit of a bait and switch. Okay. It's entitled Your Prosperity Program. Okay, that sounds like a diet or an exercise program. You know, you're going to go to the gym and in 30 days you're going to be lean and mean, fighting machine, or you know, you're going to learn to eat right and get healthy, and if you just follow these particular behaviors, it's going to work. Guaranteed. Okay, not here. But it was a good title, so hey. But the problem is I am not entirely sure that life works like that. As a matter of fact, everything I've read and studied tells me that it doesn't. There are guarantees, there are spiritual laws, but they respond to our consciousness, to our beliefs, to our emotion, to our energy, more than our simple behaviors. So these steps are not going to help you lose 15 pounds, but they may help you to find peace and joy and happiness, and that's what we're aiming for. So many of you know that in addition to my work here in One World, I also practice law, and I have for a number of years. In the law, we have a notion that we call substantial compliance. Yeah, I love this stuff. I know, substantial compliance. Yeah, I know. And you wonder why we are where we are.
Isn't it an accounting term? Does it have to do with accounting?
Yeah, I know.
Sort of did.
I just want to say for those watching, we have an accountant in the back row who is just laughing hard, and she's right. Okay. So substantial compliance means that you don't get in trouble for not fully complying with a contract. It means that you kind of comply with it. You almost comply with it. You've done most of it. You know, your kind of heart was in the right place, and you shouldn't get dinged for the fact that you didn't do 100% of what you said you would do. You did most of it, right? No harm, no foul. That's the notion, in layman's terms, of substantial compliance. Okay, well, the law of substantial compliance may work for contracts. I'm learning that it works for accounting. It may work for contracts, but it does not work. I'm not sure it's quite risen to the level of a spiritual law, is all I'm saying. If we want to fully co-create with the universe, take what is ours to claim with power and strength and joy, we cannot be satisfied with partially being in the flow. We can't kind of step in the flow. We can't like dip our toes in the flow, in the river of life, and just hope the rest of us doesn't get wet. We have to jump in. We have to commit ourselves, body and mind and spirit and belief and heart, and jump in. And that's the good news. We are continually being invited by the universe to just plunge in, holding nothing back. When we do, life gives back to us 100-fold. I know that many of us in this room are students of the law of abundance. We have learned that our beliefs, words, and our actions invite the universe to propel our good to us, to manifest our good. That's law of attraction 101, right? It's also where things get a little murky. It's also where we can start what our former minister, I think, called metaphysling, which is a word that I love. So, in researching these talks, you know that I do rigorous scholarly research. And the first place I usually stop is YouTube. Okay. I do. Okay, but then I do my rigorous scholarly research after that with a lot of sites I can't pronounce. Anyway, moving on, let's go back to YouTube. I truly saw a range of presentations. I looked for presentations on prosperity, and what did I see? I saw videos that had pictures of stacks of money. I saw pictures that had dollar signs. I saw dollar signs and arrows, stuff zooming all over the place. Money, money, money. I came across videos with titles like, The Spiritual Science of Attracting Money. Literally. That presenter talked about winning the lottery. He led listeners through an exercise in visualizing, I'm not making this up, lavish hotels. Think of yourself in a beautiful lobby, surrounded by, good restaurants, expensive cars. All these wonderful things that firmly fixed in us our minds of what, at least this person thought, an abundant life looked like. You are in an expensive restaurant you cannot normally afford, things like that. Okay. So my initial reaction to these videos was that I had no idea whether those people actually felt abundant or not. If they did, you would go into these beautiful hotels and restaurants and everybody would be smiling, wouldn't they? They would just be beaming. Well, that's not typically my experience. I sensed that many did not feel abundant, even though they may have had a great deal more money than I have or than you have. I do know that as our country has become materially more prosperous, our percentages of depression, anxiety, social isolation, even suicide have not gone down. There's not a direct proportion there with increasing financial prosperity and increasing spiritual joy. One might say that there could be a bit of an inverse relationship. Our society here in the U.S. is the living and breathing example that enough money and cars and stuff and iPhones and toys does not lead up to a satisfied life. Okay, but these are not easy answers. Money is important, and it's really easy for me to stand up here and tell you that we should not focus on how much is in our bank accounts. This is not easy stuff. And this is where you kind of look up front at the person behind the podium and you say, well, you should have all the answers. Well, we don't. This is why we try to find the answers together. I have enough money for a comfortable life. I had breakfast this morning. I have a car that got me here. I had a house that had heat. I have enough abundance for anybody, but a lot of people don't. So it's very easy for me to stand up here and say, well, you shouldn't worry about those things. That's not the way to approach this. That's not the truth. Because a lot of people live in places where they don't have enough to meet their needs. They don't have enough for nutritious food, decent and safe housing, adequate health care, and reliable transportation. I can't sit here and tell those people, oh, just don't think about those things. Because that's just a cheap solution. The lack of these essentials creates anxiety and fear. It makes us think that we are at the mercy of forces beyond our control. And sometimes, and I know some of us have been there, we see no way up and out. We see no way over that horizon to security and safety and prosperity and just a place where we can say, whoa, I don't have to worry about tomorrow. Sometimes we just can't get there. For our neighbors in those circumstances, it's not easy to think that they are surrounded by an abundant universe because they may not see any evidence of it. And we know that to be true. We say to them, yeah, you live in an abundant universe, and they look at us and say, yeah, sure, look around. Yeah, maybe you do, where you come from, but I don't. So we can become fixed, and I've done it too, and I'm sure those in this room have done it, on the notion of a surplus of money. Money translates into security, relief from fear that we won't have enough down the road. So programs that promise that money will pour on our heads become very seductive. They become very attractive. I've been to them. I've been to programs where literally you sit in a chair and people pour money on your head. It's unfortunately not human, but they do. We all want to ring that bell. We all want to figure out how we can remove that fear from our life, because life is scary enough. If we can remove the fear of being broke, then we have one fewer thing on our list to worry about. Now, we move on to worry about other things, but that's another talk. Okay. But we want to feel that money is not an issue. So for many of us, it is hard to believe that we live in an abundant universe. The challenge we face, all of us, is to see our outer experience for what it is. Just our outer experience, even when it is burdensome. Our experiences of difficulty, stress, and lack, and even failure, whoever we are, wherever we are, don't begin to touch the truth of who and what we are. All of us. That we are all beloved children of creative mind. And I believe that the only truly joyful people in this world are the ones who remember that, regardless of their circumstances. Do I have an answer for why many of us are so desperately poor? I really don't. Except I know that it is the job of those of us who are not to reach out our hand and help. I cannot give you a mathematical structure that makes everything tie up neatly. I know that we are bound in this fabric together, and that when we find people in need, whether they are next door or whether they are across the globe or whether they are stuck in airports, it is our job to reach out our hand and try to ease their suffering. I do know that. Other than that, I can't give you a quick answer as to why some suffer and others don't. But it's something that we as individuals and that we as a community continue to work on while we continue to address those needs. One of the things I do know is that any of us find joy in our lives by remembering that the circumstances of our lives, which go up and down, good, bad, we all experience them. The circumstances of our lives never separate us from our sustaining connection with God. They never do. Only we can do that. Only we can do that. And our job is not to do that. How do we do that? We focus on the circumstances and not on the connection. We become obsessed by the outer experience and we say, that is the truth of who I am. I am poor, I am broke, I am ill. And when we focus on those outer circumstances and we forget the inner truth of who we are, then that is when we truly become poor. That is when we truly become separated. When we keep our eyes on the connection, when we keep the source flowing in us, through us, and from us, we cannot help but feel the divine substance that eternally surrounds us wherever and whoever we are. In addition, when we keep our energy and our hearts and our emotions and our focus on that connection, when we live life with a view of the consciousness that we are in contact with God, our outer circumstances can change. Do they always change? Probably not. It would be nice if they did, but I can't stand up here and tell you they always do, but I know our interior landscape changes. I know that we feel joy, we feel peace, when we keep our finger touching our source, touching the heart of God that is deep within us. We need to change our consciousness. It's not a party trick. It's not something we can do by engaging in 3 separate behaviors and all of a sudden we're prosperous. It is a fundamental and profound, permanent shift in our consciousness and a way we engage with life. That is the key to every successful prosperity program I have studied. In different ways and using different language, they give us tools to remain, to live in the consciousness of our connection with Source. It's what Carmelite monk Brother Lawrence back in the 17th century called practicing the presence of God. I just love that. Practicing the presence of God. Do you remember the Bible, the Christian scripture tells us to pray without ceasing? That's what that means to me. It means that our lives are a constant flow in the connection with Spirit. It doesn't mean that we're down on our knees all the time. It means that we are always in communication with Source, whatever we are doing, practicing the presence of God. As Eric Butterworth put it, God is a life process by which we live. Think about that. I love that. God is a life process by which we live. He wrote that we need to understand God as principle. P-L-E. God as principle. And until we do that, we will continue to live marginally. When we not only understand God as principle, but when we live from that knowledge, our energy changes. Our field of energy changes. We know that we live in a vibratory, energetic universe. When we live from that place, our energy changes and draws to us opportunities for our greater good. As Charles Fillmore put it, we become magnets for the greater good of the universe to come to us in every aspect of our lives. Now, this is just not new thought. What Dr. Martin Luther King wrote, that all reality has spiritual control. In Islam, there is a hadith that states, God has said, I am to my servant as he thinks I am. The key is staying in the consciousness of abundance. What Eric Butterworth said, it's not believing in it, but it is believing from it. Do you see the difference? We don't believe in it, we believe from it, from the consciousness of flow and from the consciousness of abundance. The very word affluence itself, think of the word affluence, we use it all the time. He's affluent, she's affluent, I'm not affluent. The word affluent does not mean a stack of money. The word affluent means plentiful flow, free flow. The very word itself means being in the flow. That is what carries us to abundance, and that is what carries our abundance from us out to others. So let's look at some of the steps. I did say this was about a program. So let's look at some of the steps we know will keep us in this flow. Will keep us in the consciousness of abundance, because that's what we're doing. We are changing our paradigms. We are living from. We are not believing in. So let's look at some of those steps. The first thing we do is we remember who we are. Spirit is manifest in this world as you. As Meister Eckhart put it, let God be God in you. Let God be God in you. It's there. Just let it be. Even when it's not so obvious with these outer eyes, when life events around us are sending us a very different message. We need to remember that we are, as Thomas Merton said, all walking around shining like the sun. Think about that. We are all walking around shining like the sun. What is the next step? The next step is to align yourself with divine mind. We remember who we are, and then we put ourselves in alignment with divine mind. We put our hearts in the place where step one, put our heads. This is where we start to jump in 100%. You cannot think yourself into a connection with spirit. You must commit to it. Body, mind, soul, and spirit. Eric Butterworth said, too many students are overread and underdone. Isn't that true? I mean, how many of us go home and we see stacks of books on abundance and prosperity, and we could have committed them all to memory, and we could still be as broke as the day we cracked open the first one. Too many students are overread and underdone. I think it was Emily Cady who said, put down all the books. Just get up and get moving. Put down all the books. Don't think you are going to make this transition just by reading about it. We breathe, we listen, we wait, we surrender to the knowledge that divine substance flows around us, and we just need to open up and let it pass through. It's not something we need to push. As Michael Beckwith said, don't make it happen, just welcome it. Just open ourselves up to the knowing that divine substance surrounds us and flows to us and through us and from us. Listen to guidance from Spirit telling us where our gifts are best used, how to move beyond this challenge to that new opportunity. Now, it may not be where you expect. We've all known this to be true. I want to do X. All of a sudden, opportunities present someplace else. It may not be where you expect. Spirit tells us to use the gifts that only we have. Acknowledge that your gifts are just that. Nobody else has them. Sometimes we get so bogged down thinking we need to be like someone else, especially in this media world. We cannot get up in the morning and get out of bed without 14 different people who are richer, thinner, smarter, more media savvy, more well-known than we are. By the time you have your second cup of coffee, you have such a complex because you're not the 14 people you've already seen on TV. Stop. There is nobody in this universe, before, now, or after, who has the gifts that you were blessed with. We are here to use them, to use the ones we have. We're not here to be anyone else. We just diminish ourselves when we think that we are. Emily Cady wrote in Lessons in Truth, to be the greatest success, you do not want my gift, nor do I want yours. Each wants his own, such as will fit his size and shape, his capacity and desires, such as not the human mind of us, but the highest in us shall choose. We listen to the highest in us. She goes on to say, let us not desert our own work, our own God within us, to gaze or pattern after our neighbor. Don't waste another second thinking you should be like somebody else. You need to be who you are, working on spreading your gifts. Listen for what Spirit is whispering to you. Those whispers are the means wherein you align your mind and your heart and your spirit with the actions of the divine mind. This is not a Western concept. This is a universal concept. Kuan Yin, the Buddhist bodhisattva of compassion, speaks on the law of prosperity and abundance when she taught, continue down the path that makes you feel fulfilled. Those who continue on an unrewarding path for the sake of only monetary gain are displaying a lack of trust in life. Continuing in such a mistrustful way will only bring impoverishment. Following one's heart, continuing on one's divine path can bring abundance. Your path, your gifts, you listening to the voice of guidance that comes to you. Okay, what's the third precept? Get up and get moving. Get up and get moving. Put your belief and your commitment into action. The light just flashed. Okay, good. Eric Butterworth wrote that guidance is a process that works most effectively when you are in motion. We know that the universe is energy. We are energy beings. We are made to move, to create, to get up and do. Our action propels the universe to respond, bringing opportunity and providence back to us. We have seen it operating here in this community. Last week I talked about when we went down to the march downtown. And that lady gave me the sign, which was perfect for us. And we talked in the bigger scale about all those marches last week in support of women and human rights were started when one lady in Hawaii put out a Facebook post. And the world just responded. We have also seen it here in recent days at One World with our efforts to expand our interfaith work. I cannot imagine a better time to expand our work for interfaith understanding than now. Don't you just wonder at how these things come together at the right time and the right place? It is just amazing. We recently formed, with the guidance of Reverend Sidney, thank you, and Linda, our board president, the North Fulton Interfaith Alliance. And with the belief, energy, and commitment that this was the right thing to do, especially for this community, this interfaith community, that this was the right thing to do, we began to take steps to move it forward. Okay, so what do we say when we're tweeting? OMG. Oh my goodness. I cannot begin to tell you what has happened when we started taking those steps. And we're not talking about huge steps. We're not talking about like press conferences and, balloon flyovers. We're talking about making a call, sending an email. I'd like to get involved. My name is Melanie Eyre. I'd like to do this. Just action steps. And what happened? It was like somebody turned on the tap. It was like the universe said, okay, are you willing? Stand by. And things have been happening at a pace that we just have been finding it difficult to keep up with. I said I'd like to make some people know about our efforts. Suddenly, last week, I'm giving the benediction at the Fulton County Board of Commissioners State of the County address down at the Georgia World Congress Center with like 300 people there. It was amazing. It was like, there's me, there's 300 people. We're talking about interfaith. Okay, let's go. Here's the universe telling me, game on, is what the universe tells you when you start. We reach out to partner organizations. People are calling, people are emailing. Next Wednesday, down at the Fulton County Commission, we're participating in a program on the Fulton County Interfaith Council. If you want to go, it's next Wednesday. And we're going to be up there talking about the North Fulton Interfaith Alliance on TV, just because we started moving in that direction. Opportunity, resources come our way. Asha and Chris spent the entire afternoon yesterday building our website for North Fulton Interfaith Alliance, and my gratitude goes out to them. Stuff is happening because we set the intention, we set the vision, it's the right time, and we started moving. So that is such the right thing for us to do right now, and I'm really excited to be able to report to you more about it down the road. That's just an example of how the universe propels you forward with a boot in the rear, whether you are ready or not, when you say that you are willing. Remember that picture of God and Adam on the Sistine Chapel? I love that when God is like, I'm here for you, and Adam is lounging there, and all he has to do is lift that finger to make the connection. Remember? Lift the finger to make the connection. Well, when you lift a finger, man, stand by, because stuff starts flowing. The fourth step, remember that gratitude is the energy that keeps the flow moving. In the Christian scripture, we remember in Matthew chapter 14 that Jesus When he was feeding the 5,000, did he give thanks after God gave the miracle? Phew, everyone's full. No, I've had enough, thanks. No, okay, no, thank you, God. No, he did it first. He took the loaf, he had 5 fish and a few loaves from this little kid, and he gave thanks before anything had happened. And then he broke it and he gave it to 5,000 people, and at the end there was enough left over. Now, do we know that that actually happened? What do they say? It may not have happened, but I know it's the truth. Right? When we give thanks ahead of time for the abundance we know is coming, it happens. Things start to flow. The universe does respond. The Quran teaches the same lesson in the 14th surah. It is written, and remember, your Lord caused to be declared. If you are grateful, I will add more unto you. If you are grateful, I will add more unto you. A grateful heart keeps us in the flow of abundant energy. Our energy changes when we commit to finding something to be grateful for. What does it do for us? It takes us away from that energy of what I call OPM. Does anyone know what OPM stands for? Oh, poor me. How often do I walk around, OPM, oh, poor me, oh, or if it's a really bad day, oh, PPM. Oh, poor me. But what does thinking of gratitude do? It takes and it changes our paradigm. It just says, yeah, things are better. Look at that. Look at that. There is a lot that I am to be blessed for. A couple of years ago, my wife Deborah and I were visiting her family in Tennessee. And this is not a family that comes from a lot of money. They are hardworking. They stick together. They are a wonderfully grounded, wise group of people. So we are sitting in front of her Uncle Ed. Now you can look at Uncle Ed and you can look at his hands and you can see that this man has worked hard physical labor every day of his life. He has those kind of hands that are just big and gnarled and scarred and just beautiful because you know he has used them to work every day. He has arms like tree trunks. I mean, this guy, you just know he has worked his entire life. So I'm down there, me, you know, and I'm complaining that I can't afford something that I probably don't need in the first place. And I'm just yammering on about how terrible things are, and I'm just, OPM, OPM. And Ed looks at me and he goes, are you hungry? I have never forgotten it. He goes, are you hungry? And I stopped and I said, Ed, I am not. And I'm going to shut up. And ever since then, whenever I start just yammering on about, oh, poor me, I think, are you hungry? And no, I'm not. I am blessed. So talk about cutting straight to the chase. Sometimes we just have to have something like that pop us up and say, take a look. Stop, breathe, and take a look. The last thing you do is you keep the flow moving. Do what you can, give what you can. The significance is in the giving, not in the amount. Your giving is an acknowledgement that you are in the continuing flow of universal abundance. It flows to you, through you, and just as importantly, from you. That keeps the flow moving. The water in a hose, how does the water keep rushing? Because one water at one end is leaving. It just, if you've studied electricity, it's not pushed, it is pulled. And that is how the flow works. You have to keep it coming to you and through you and from you. Opportunity, resources, and abundance work that way. We are of the flow. The other thing we remember is that we are not owners, we are stewards. We are stewards of the abundance in this world. Everything we have, we do not own. We use it to nourish ourselves and to pass on for the greater good. We need to be humble, we need to be thankful, and we need to use the resources given to us wisely. So here are the steps. Let me just recap. Know who you are, align with the flow, get up and get moving, be grateful, and pass it on. With these steps, we keep ourselves in the consciousness of abundance, we keep ourselves in the flow of prosperity and love and peace and joy. Let me just close with one of my favorite lines. This story goes, and again, I don't know if this happened, but I know it's true, that a man once asked Socrates, how do you get to Mount Olympus? And he responded, just make sure every step you take goes in that direction. Yeah. So that's how we get to abundance. We just make sure every step we take in full consciousness goes in that direction. So let's take these thoughts into